प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। परीक्षदोवाच रजस्तमः स्वभावश्च ब्रह्मन् वैत्रस्य पाप्मनो नारायणे भगवती कथमासि दृढमतिः। देवानां शुद्धसत्त्वानां ऋषीणां च मलात्मनां भक्तिर्मुकुन्द चरणे न प्रायोणो न प्रायेणोपजायते। रजोभिः समसंख्याता पार्थवैर्यजन्तव तेषां ये केचन हन्ते श्रेयो वै मनुजादय। प्रायो मुमुक्षवस्तेषां केचनैव द्विजोत्तमः। मुमुक्षूणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिन्नो चेतसिद्ध्यति। जिसमें आज्ञा दोगे उन्हें ये कर दिया जरूर। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतस्तुन्वन्त देव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदाक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यां तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। कस्मै येन विभासितो यमतुलो ज्ञानप्रदीप पुरा तद्रूपेण च नारदाय मुनये कृष्णाय तद्रूपिणा योगेन्द्राय तदात्मनाथ भगवत् राताय कारुण्यता तच्छोत्तं विमलं विशोकममलं तच्छोत्तं विमलं विशोकममृतं सत्यं परं धीमहि। आपका टाइम हो रहा है। बुधवार को क्लास में अटेंड करूंगा।
ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु विद्यस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजय आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहैतुकी। ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 14, number 5. This is question which was raised by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev, that how is it that Vritrasura, who was under the influence of Rajas and Tamas, was such a great devotee of the Lord? Because it is seen that even some of the great sages who are situated in Sattva, they cannot have devotion to God. There are many people who try for spiritual life, but only some attain perfection. And even among those who attain perfection, it is very rare that someone takes to devotion or someone becomes devoted to Lord Narayana. So, Kotiswapi Hamu. So, how is it that Vritrasura, he became such a great devotee? This is the question which was raised by Parikshit. And we were reading the commentary of Sri Krishna's. So he first said that this Muktanam and Siddhanam, this is the sixth case, it should be fifth case. They said that those people who are trying for mukti, they cannot become devotees anyway. So there is no sense of saying that among thousands and thousands of such people, they can become devotee. It is not possible. But why should they become devotee when followers of Gyan Marg have no interest? And then he began giving an alternative interpretation. And that's what we will read now. So he said that the word jnana, which is used in the word Gyan Marg, has different meaning. Because there are different types of jnanis. And basically he makes three categories. There are those who are keval jnanis, and then there are those who are jnanis mixed with bhakti. And in this second category he makes further two divisions. Those who accept the form of Lord as eternal, transcendental, and those who don't accept. So he is going to speak about these three. So the first one, obviously there is no scope for this first type to become a devotee because he is only after Gyan, which means he does not accept the transcendental form of the Lord and thinks that the world is not real and ultimate reality is impersonal. So these people, they are not interested in bhakti at all. Sveya Shrutim Bhakti Mudasyate Vibho Lishyanti Ye Keval Bodh Labdhe Tesham Asho Kleshala Eva Shishyate Yathast Pula Tushav Bhati. So Brahma, he said this in his prayers, that the only auspicious path is bhakti. There is no other auspicious path in this world. And if one gives up that, it is only after keval bodha, means only jnana, which means that I am Brahma, I am Brahmasmi. And obviously in this concept there is no scope for devotion, because devotion needs at least two, the one who is worshipped and the worshipper. But kevala jnana or kevala bodha means that ekameva dvityam brahma. This is the famous statement from the Upanishad that Brahman is one and it is advitiya. Therefore there is no concept of worshipper and worshipped. So these people, they do not accept bhakti as the process. So for that Brahma says that if you do not accept bhakti, then there is no scope of any transcendentalism. Because the gunas, they cannot get you out of materialism. In the material world, knowledge comes through sattva. This is the analysis which Lord Krishna has done in Bhagavad Gita. When he analyzes sattva, rajas and tamas. So knowledge can manifest only in sattva, because tamas has the covering potency. Rajas means there is a lot of movement. Rajas is always moving, so it cannot reveal. To understand something, the object has to be revealed, and that revelation is not possible in any of these other gunas, rajas and tamas. But then sattva cannot take you out from the material condition. Therefore, Brahma says that such people who are only after jnana, rejecting bhakti, then the outcome is kleshala eva shishyate, and they only have some exercise. Nothing more than that. So some people like to do exercise in the name of spirituality. Many people do that. So that's what it says, kleshala eva shishyate. Yatha sthula tushargati. You take chaff and you go and beat it, then nothing is going to come out of it because there is no stuff inside. So this is the number one type of jnana. And then there are two more types. So for them he says that bhakti sahitam cha, the second one, which is bhakti sahitam, that he divides in further two categories. Bhakti sahitam cha jnanam dvividham. You can come here in front. Bhagavadakare maya buddhya anadare api tad bhakti sahitam sahitaya vinaya tadadare sahitat bhakti sahitam. So there are some jnanis who accept bhakti. You can see some jnanis in Vrindavan. They do worship, they do puja, they have temple also. The first types are not interested in that. But these are the second type. And in the second type, there are two categories. The first category, they do worship, but they think that God is also material. And therefore they do not respect the form of the Lord as transcendent. Maya buddhi. There is one very famous book called Panchadashi. Those of you who are familiar with Advaita. So Panchadashi is a very famous book of Advaita. It was written by Vidyaranyana Swami, somewhere around 12th century. And in that he says that Maya is like a cow and it gives birth to two calves. One is called Jiva, other is called Ishwar. So both are the babies of Maya. Ishwara, Bhagavan, is also Maya's baby, and Jiva is also Maya's baby. So because for them, God's form is also material. They say that Brahman is the Satya, Brahma Satyam, and then Brahman becomes conditioned by Maya. And Maya has two divisions in it. One is the Vidya division, that is the Sattva Guna, because Sattva gives Vidya knowledge. And the other is the Rajas Tamas division, which is called the Avidya division. So these two things, if Vidya is conditioning Brahman, then it becomes Bhagavan. And when Avidya is conditioning Brahman, that becomes Jiva. But both are material. So he says that both are drinking the milk from this cow. But Canto Advaita mein, he says the reality is Advaita. So this is what he is talking about here. He says that the first type, so they may even accept bhakti, because they do accept the form of God, but then the form of God is also made of Maya, and it is material. Ultimately for them everything is material, Nam is also material. So this is, he says, anadare, therefore they, Maya buddhya anadare. That really speaking, they disrespect the form of Lord because they think it is also made of Maya. Tad bhakti sahitaya vinayeva tadadare sati tad bhakti sahitaya. So basically they cannot have bhakti, because how can you have bhakti for something which is Maya? And then the second one are those who accept the form of Lord as spiritual, although their interest is in Brahman realization. So out of these three types of people, it is only the third type who can attain Mukti. The first two, it is not possible. Because unless you accept Bhagwan as transcendental, spiritual, then there is no scope of any Mukti. So tatradde khalu mukta na bhavanti, kintu mukta abhimani nahi. So the first type of people, they do not become liberated, although they even have worship. So he says that they may have a pride of mukta. But among the impersonalists also, they also say, oh, he is a jivan mukta. So he says they are only having the abhiman, pride of being a mukta, but they are not. Tadrasya bhaktya avidya samyak nirasya vidyadayasya samyak sampadya sadhyeva antardhanat taya vina na tat padarth jnana bhavat na brahmani liya. So they do some devotion, and that devotion helps them to gain knowledge and remove avidya. But after giving knowledge, this bhakti disappears. Does not stay with them, and because it does not stay with them, then they don't have realization of Bhagwan, and when they don't have realization of Bhagwan, which includes Brahman, so they don't get Brahman Sakshatkar. So they remain material Bhagwan. So if you read Yoga Sutra, then there is sutra there, Prakriti Laya. People, there are many types of people, they become absorbed in Prakriti. And Prakriti is also called Brahman. Then it is also great. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadami sambhava sarvbhutanam tato bhavati bharata. So Krishna himself says that this my yoni is Mahad Brahma, and I impregnated. So when he is using the word Brahman there, that it does not refer to the absolute reality called Brahman. It is referring to Prakriti. Then it is only Prakriti that he injects the jivas, and then various jivas, they take birth. So various forms appear from that. So these people may go there, and then from there they have to come back. But they cannot get Brahma Sahibja, it is not possible. Therefore it says that na Brahmani liyam. Tatriyanya arvindakshityadava nadri krishma dangreti pramana. So this is also spoken in Bhagavatam. Yanyar arvindaksh vimukta manina tvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddha aruhya krishena param padam tata patanti adha nadri vishmana. These type of people, they think that they have become liberated, but actually they don't have devotion in them. Asta bhava. Bhava means devotion, asta means when the sun goes down, it's a Suryasta. So their devotion is not up, it is not functioning, because they consider God's body as material. So Tvayasta Bhava Avishuddha Buddha, therefore their buddhi, their intellect is impure. And Arhuya Kritshena Parampanam Patanti. Although they rise to a very high level of sattva, but from there they have to come down because of disrespecting the lotus feet of God. So these are the second type of jnanis. So out of these three, the first two types therefore do not attain moksha, mukti, and ignition. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also saying this. Avjananti mam mudha manushim tamashutam param bhavam ajanantam mama bhuta maheshwaram moghasha mogh karmana mogh jnana vichetasa rakshasam aslim chaiva prakritim mohinim sutta. He says that when I appear in human body, then the foolish people, they disrespect. So these are those foolish people, although they think they are jnanis and they are liberated. Krishna is calling them as mudas. So muda means confused, bewildered. Of course, we also have these seats that are called mudas. The cane seats we have, they are also called mudas. So they are mudas like this, sitting, no brain. So avjananti mam mudha manushim tanumashita. And why is that? Because they do not know that I have transcendental nature. Param bhavam ajananta. Mama bhuta maheshwar. So obviously they lack this knowledge that God's body is transcendent. It is transcendental. So Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram, they do not know that I am the Supreme Source controller of all the Bhutas, living beings. And therefore it says Moghasha, Mogha Karmana, Mogha Jnana Vichetasa. Which Avichetasa means not having proper awareness. Their hopes are bewildered, their actions are futile, and their knowledge is imperfect. So what happens to them then? Rakshasi Maslim Shaiva Prakriti Mohini Sutta. Then they are born as Rakshasas and Asuras. Because they also think that God's form is material. That's why they try to attack God also. You see Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, so they're all trying to kill God. So that means they think that his body is also material, therefore he can be killed. So they are accepting that he has a form, but they think that they can kill him. So this is what a Rakshasa thinks, this is what an Asura thinks. So on your Artha, he gives a meaning to these two verses in the present context. He says, Manushim tanum ashritam mam mudha avjanat. They're thinking that I have body like other human beings. They disrespect me, they insult me. Like Shishupal was doing in the assembly. What is this Krishna? What has he done in his life? So he said that he killed one snake, one bull, and he lifted one hill which was made by termites. It was hollow from inside. And people are worshipping. And then he was doing other funny things, stealing the cloth of gods. So he's not even qualified to sit in the assembly of heroes. That's what Shishupal is saying. So this is what Asuric people speak. So Avjananti Sarvatrikya Manushya Stanor Maikatva Darshanat Madhyaya Api Manushya Stanor Maikatva Kalpanam Eva Mama. So they think that just as all other human beings, their body is material, made of Maya, they see my body, then they think that this is also my body. And this is how they disregard. So even to think like this, that God's form is material, that itself is an insult to him. Don't have to specifically speak insulting words, but even this concept itself is insulting. Mama Manushim Tanum Kidrishim. So he says, what actually is my human form? He says, Param Bhavam, Sweshtam Sattvam, Vishuddham Sattvam. Says this form is not made of Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva, but it is made from transcendental Sattva. It's made from the internal potency of the Lord. Kidrisham Bhuta Maheshwaram. So, how is this form? This is Bhuta Maheshwara. Bhutanam Brahmadi Prananta Jivanam Maheshwaram Paramakaram. Say that this form is the supreme cause of all other forms, beginning from Brahma down to the blade of grass. So all other forms, they emanate from the form of God, because if God does not have a form, then how other beings can have form? Because what is not in the cause cannot be in the effect of the product. So there are many religions which think that God is formless. But if God is formless, then why we have form? So how can, and then the thing that God created. So if He is formless, how can He create? And then how can you pray to a formless God? So therefore here he said that Maheshwara means that my form is the cause of all other forms. But his form is the supreme form. And from that come the forms of Brahma, etc. So Mama Manushi Tanureva Svikrita Prakrita Sarva Vastuka. So he says that my human form itself is the cause of all objects in this world. So I am Sarvasya Prabhu, Matta Sarvam Prabhatate. Iti Matta Bhajantavam Buddha Bhavasana. Krishna says, I am the source of everything. So those who are intelligent people, they know this, and therefore they worship this form. So those people who think that this form is material, when he says moghasha, iti yadite mad bhakta sivutadate moghasa mat prapti asha teksham varta. Now he gives very interesting meaning to these three words, moghasa, mogh karmani and mogh jnana. So he says that if these people are devotees, they are performing devotion, they are performing devotional activities, thinking that God's form is material. So what is the result of that? Moghasha. He says their hopes are futile. Why? They will not attain me. How can you attain if you understand? Therefore understanding has to be very clear. If our understanding is wrong, then our actions are wrong, and then our results are wrong. So it is very important to have proper understanding. So it says, mat prapti asha tesham vyarthasya. And their hope to attain me will be vyartha, useless. It will not be fulfilled. Yadi te karmina tada te moga karma. And if they are following karma marga and worshipping me, thinking my form is material, then they will not get the result of their karma. So moga karma. Moghasa, moga karma, moga jnana. And this is the third one which he really wants to refer to here. So yadi te jnaninas tada moga jnanas tesam moksha moksha. And if they are jnanis and worshipping me, thinking my form is material, then they will not attain moksha. That is the meaning of moga jnana. Because jnana is that which leads to moksha. Tattvat samjayate jnana. And jnana is Brahma darsana. So there is no Brahma darsana of such a Pari tesam kim syat. So what happens to such people? So Rakshasyadi Yonam Janam. So the result is that they become Rakshas. So after performing all their tapasya, all their austerities, all their puja and worship and everything, they become Rakshas. So this is very dangerous. That's also good. And then he comes to the other option. Those people who are worshipping the form of Lord, they want moksha and they accept the form as transcendent. Avidya vidyor uprameyapi anuparamataya jnana sabalya rahitaya bhaktya tatpadartham gyatva brahma sayujam prapnoti. So these people, after they have become free of avidya, ignorance, and they have become situated in vidya, and because they accepted the form of the Lord as transcendental, so they still have bhakti. And this bhakti, which is not mixed with jnana anymore, because they are not thinking that they are one with Brahman, they accept God as transcendental. So they will attain Brahma side. They can attain Brahma side. And this is what Krishna has described in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. When he said, Brahma bhuta prasannatma vashochati nakamsati samaya sarvani bhuta samaya sarveshu bhutesu mad bhakti labdhe para bhaktya mama vijanati yavanischasmi tattva tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadananda. That when a person follows ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vinishcha nirmamo santi brahma bhuyaya kalpata. And when one follows this process of jnana marga, ahankar balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham, one gives up pride, ego, possessions and sense of doership. So nirmama becomes free, that I am the owner. So then one person, such a person comes to understand Brahman. And then understanding Brahman, Brahma bhuta prasannatma, then he becomes happy. Na shochati na kamshati. He does not lament for anything, does not desire for anything. Because you lament for something, if you have and you lose, you own something and you lose it, then you lament for it. And if you lack something, then you desire. But one who is become Brahma Bhuta, then there is no question of anything, because what can you lose? There is nothing to lose. What can you gain? Nothing to gain. Therefore it says Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nishochati Kamshati Sama Sarveshu Bhutesu. He becomes even-minded towards everybody. So such a person then he attains Bhakti, Mad Bhakti Lavate Param. Now he attains Parabhakti, or pure devotion. Sundar. And with this bhakti he realizes Bhaktya mama vijanati yavan yastrasmi. With this bhakti he understands God as he is. And then after understanding he enters into tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate paramantara. So only such people can attain Brahma side. Of course, the question will come, why somebody has to attain Sahajya? So that may be somebody's desire, but of course anybody who has little intelligence will not do that. But this is the only way. So therefore all these so-called Advaitavadis, there is no scope for them to attain moksha. possible. It's very clear in this kind. And that's why Brahma has said that Bhakti is the only auspicious path. Sreya Sutim Bhakti Mulasate Nishyanti Keval Bodha. And if you renounce the path of Bhakti, Bhakti Marga. So you give up Bhakti Marga and you are in trouble. Only trouble. Actually he said only trouble. Klesha Eva means only, nothing else. So this is what he is saying here. That without Bhakti it is not possible. Kincha tesam siddhanam madhye. Now he comes to the original verse. Because the verse was Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana Sudurlabha prashantatma kotishwapi mahamuni. That even those who are liberated people, who have become siddha, perfected beings, even millions and millions of such people, you cannot find one devotee of Narayana. So bhakti is so rare. And so great. So therefore he is saying why is it so that among such thousands and thousands of Siddha Purushas you cannot find one devotee? He said because the Siddha Purushas made this mistake of accepting the form of God as material. And if they make this mistake, they cannot get liberated, forget about becoming devotees. So the Siddha, such perfected beings also can become devotee only if they have the grace of a devotee, because bhakti cannot come by anything else. So kincha tesham siddhanam madhye kopi bhaktya tat padarth anubhav arambha samaye yadi kasyachit shuddha bhaktasya kripya purnam shuddham bhaktim prapnoti tadatan madhurya labhat sayujyam arochayatva narayana parayana syat. So now among these Siddha Purushas, before they actually merge into Brahman, when they get knowledge of Tat Padartha, they have Brahman realization, they have not given up their present body, they are in the Jivan Mukta stage. At that time, if they can get the association of a devotee, then by his association or her association, this person may lose interest in Brahmacharya and then take to devotion. So only such Siddha Purushas can become devotee, otherwise they become Brahmacharya, they become Muktas. So that is the meaning of this verse. And it is for this reason that Parikshit Maharaj, he was very surprised that how is that Vritrasura, who is an Asura, will become a devotee. And becoming a devotee is such a bad thing. So tatra anugrahat bhaktasya shantatve shant bhakta iti dasaditve dasadiriti. Now depending on what type of devotee you meet, then you will have a corresponding bhav. If the bhav you meet a shanta bhakta, you will also become a shanta bhakta. If you meet a das bhakta, then das bhakta. If you meet a sakha bhakta, then sakha. So vatsalya, madhurya, these are the different bhavs, whether it is Vaidhi or Ragamura. So those are all matters of details, but it will happen only with the association. So asya ati vairalyena dorlabha. So this is very, very rare. And therefore it is called durlabha, not easily achievable. It's not something you can find every book and corner. So it is for this reason that he used the word Kotishwar. Koti means millions. Previously he was saying thousands. He was using the word Sahasra earlier. Mumukshunam Sahasresu Karmani Muccheta Siddhyati. So now he gave up the word Sahasra, thousand, and he moved to Kotishwar. That you can even find liberated people, but to find devotee, that is extremely rare. So that is the importance of this verse. And then one more verse is speaks Atruna Samsaya Bhuyan Shotum Kotu Alam Prabho Ya Parushena Samare Sahasraksham. So he said that, dear son, this is my Kautuhal. Kautuhal is curiosity, very intense curiosity. So I am very curious and I very much want to hear that you remove my doubt. But this Vritrasura, he was so powerful that in the battlefield he satisfied Indra. Even Indra congratulated him. Because when Indra threw first time a club at him, he just caught him like catch a lollipop. And then he hit him back. And Indra, his elephant was 200 feet back. He fall down and his elephant was passing urine in the open. And Indra fell off from the elephant. So even Indra was surprised because this never happened to him. So he congratulated that he is really great. So he says, and Parikshit is a great fighter himself, so you can understand how great it was. So he says, yet Parushena, that with his valor, with his chivalry, he satisfied Sahasraksham. So he says, this is my Kautuhal. I want to hear about this Vritrasura, who was he in his past life. How did he become like this? So now Sukadeva Goswami will answer and will tell the story of Vritrasura, what he was in previous life and how he became Asura, how he was the king. So that we will read tomorrow. If you have any question on this.
So probably those who attain Brahma Sajuya, they have to mix Jnana with Bhakti. No?
Yes, without Bhakti there is no Bhakti.
And which form of the Lord will they worship?
Vishnu.
Vishnu.
Vishnu, Krishna. As to Vishnu Tattva.
And then when they get there on the Brahmananda, they get Brahmananda. Which consciousness do they get there? What is their consciousness?
There is no consciousness.
No consciousness?
It's called Brahman.
Oh, Brahman.
Yes. When you feel I am Brahman, I am one with Brahman.
They don't do any activity at all?
So there's no place to do any activity. You don't have a form.
So they experience the bliss of Brahman for eternity.
They don't experience, they become bliss. Because to be experienced again and again, you have to have a distinction of experience and unexperienced. So that's why it is called Anirvachaniya, ineffable, indescribable. So it's not like you eat sugar and you experience the sweetness, you become sweetness.
For that you have to get, they have to get prem, no, in their path. They have to become, they have to get prem for the deity, no, for the Ishta.
Right. This is described in third canto. By Lord Kapila.
question that in some places seems to give recognition, that these other paths are valid. Like if we can look at it just in terms of the traditional Indian philosophies, or we can look at now the world religion, and in particular the various mystical paths, from Christian mysticism, Sufism, Kabbalah, and so on. In addition to the Vedic paths. For example, in the Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami begins in the very general sense that all the spiritual paths can be simply described in one word, samukya. And then he goes on to describe exactly what samukya means. So, and then if we look into these different paths, each one has its own, let's say, stages of development of consciousness. Each path describes, some form of liberation in their own terms. So do we acknowledge these paths as valid or not? Because, to break it down to this point that Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is describing here, practically speaking, dismisses the other paths in terms of how they describe themselves. Because, for example, the Jnanis would not acknowledge this point that's coming up today. They would probably say that those that worship the Lord as having eternal form are still under the influence of the gunas. So it's practically speaking dismissing that there's any realization on those paths, what to speak of liberation.
Well, that is the Bhagavatam. If you carefully study Bhagavatam, then Bhagavatam is very clear on this point. And from the very beginning, Vadanti tattvadas tattvam yasgyananadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavati sambhati. So, there is only one tattva, and that is Bhagavan. It is also very clear that without bhakti, there is no spiritual attainment. You can attain, some material improvement here. You can move to sattvic nature, and within Prakriti you can get power, you can get realizations, lot of understanding you can get, but you cannot get out of material consciousness. You remain within material gunas. So although sometimes it is said that sattva gives Brahma darshan, but again that is explained that it only takes you to the door, but cannot get you out without bhakti. But the dangerous thing is that if you commit aparadha, as the other two types are doing, not accepting Bhagavan as transcendental or accepting him as material, then there is no possibility. Then you are even more dangerous. That way you become a Rakshasa. Because one would wonder how is that somebody is actually worshipping, and then you become a Rakshasa. Because that vritti is Rakshasa. So that is not Samukya. It looks like Samukya. You can call it Samukya Bhas. So most of these paths are like that. And these people may be also well controlled in their behavior, may be nice, and they may have all these qualities. But Bhagavatam is that Yasyasti Bhakti Bhagavati Kinchana Sarve Guna Tatra Samasate Sura Hara Bhaktasya Kuto Mahad Guna. So where are the Mahad Guna if you are not a devotee? It is very clear that if you are not a devotee, you don't have good qualities. It may appear, but that good quality can change any time, because these are all gunas of Prakriti. So your mind is bhavata bhavi. So this is This is very clear in Bhagavatam here. In this whole analysis from the very beginning of Sukadeva Goswami and the Kumaras, Bhagavatam, is only to show this, that even Kumaras who were supposed to be Brahmagyanis, they lost their temper right at the gate of Bhagavan. So how is it possible they are called Samdarshi? So if they are Samdarshi, equal vision, even-minded, that means now they are no more Samdarshi. They are thinking that this guy is not speculative. Samdarshi means I don't see the difference. So that they lost their temper. And they not only lost their temper, they cursed them. Which means that they were really out of their head. You go to somebody's gate and then you curse that, basically you fire that guy from the job. Who are you? He is my employee. What right you have to fire him? So cursing them to fall down from there basically means that they fired the gatekeepers of the Lord without his permission. So where is the Samukya? That means they are also self-centered. So this is what Bhagavata is. Bhagavad Puran is very clear on this. And this is very extreme. People don't like to hear this. So sometimes we don't speak so openly. Because people feel hurt. They think we are fanatic. And this is actually Bhagavatam saying, not I am saying.
And you said in the class, and I was thinking that in the same moment, that, if someone on, let's say, the path of Jnana came to this understanding, why would they even still want Sayuja Mukti? They come to understand that Bhagavan is eternal in this form, and that the only way of liberation is to worship him. So, who would still want Sayuja Mukti at that point?
I don't think that anybody would like it. I don't think that anybody goes for it just to show. To make a comparison basically, and to show the possibility. Anybody who has little understanding and some brain, logic, it's impossible that someone will desire. But of course, if one does not have the understanding, Prakriti, Mohini, Srita, they are under the influence of Mohini Prakriti. What can we do? So, Mohini is not only Mohini, it's Vishwa Mohini. Develops the whole world. Not one or two people. Any other question?
So,
the point was made in the class that on the avoiding path there you earn only trouble.
Yes.
But we also see that on the Bhakti path there's so much trouble, and even earlier Vitrasura says the Lord gives his devotees trouble.
Yeah, but the devotees, they like the trouble. That's why Kunti is praying for them. With Dasantu Nasaswar Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavata Darshanam Yat Syat Apunar Bhav Darshanam. Because in the trouble they see God. And they are happy.
So then the
But
experience...
these people don't do the see in trouble, only trouble.
So then the experience of trouble on both sides, the difference in the experience is that the bhakta, when he experiences the trouble,
That is
the
transcendental.
inevitable trouble,
That is transcendental trouble.